Hey YouTube, it's Unger to the Max here, coming at you with another video. Hopefully you enjoyed the one I just uploaded, where I let my passion fly because, well, the Columbus Blue Jackets just so happened to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Game 1 is today! Yeah. And they just so happened to be playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, who they swept in the first round last year. Yeah. That's all. But for this video, it's back to WWE reactions because I've been on a roll uploading those recently, and you, the viewers, seem to be enjoying them. So fuck it, let's keep it going. If I had to decide between watching Monday Night Raw and watching Friday Night SmackDown, I would actually choose Friday Night SmackDown. Because overall, the storytelling on SmackDown seems to be a little bit better than what they're doing on Monday Night Raw. Now, some of the stories on Monday Night Raw are clear. Like, what's happening with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. The story is very clear there. And they're on a direct collision course for the main event of SummerSlam. Which, again, I don't have WWE Network, so I'm not going to be watching. And the long-term storytelling of Dominic Mysterio / Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins with the whole Monday Night Messiah gimmick and all that, that's good storytelling. And Dominic Mysterio is challenging Seth Rollins to a match at SummerSlam, which, as of this moment, that's the only non-title match at SummerSlam. Because the other matches are Drew McIntyre against Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. You've got Braun Strowman against The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, for the Universal Championship, which, again, Bray Wyatt never should have lost the Universal Championship to Goldberg. WWE totally fucked up there. You have Apollo Crews taking on MVP for the United States Championship. And you have the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, taking on Andrade and Angel Garza for the Raw Tag Team Championships. So, like I said, the only non-title match on the SummerSlam card, as of this moment anyway, is Dominic Mysterio against Seth Rollins. Now, I'm confused about what the stipulation is. Is it going to be like what happened at Extreme Rules between Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre, where only Dolph Ziggler got to use like Extreme Rules stuff, rules, whatever? Is it going to be like that where only Dominic Mysterio is allowed to use kendo sticks and tables or whatever? What's that? Like, I don't totally get it. Like, and that wasn't made any clearer to me last night. Whereas on SmackDown, you have the Monster Among Men, Braun Strowman, and the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. And I'm still surprised that WWE went right to Braun Strowman against Bray Wyatt right away after Braun won the Universal Championship from Goldberg. I thought they would maybe put Braun Strowman in a different feud to kind of build the suspense and anticipation a bit more of the eventual feud. But instead, WWE chose to go right to Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt right away. And honestly, I'm not disappointed about it. Like I said, I'm just surprised, actually. But it's worked. Like, don't you remember at Money in the Bank, it was Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt against Braun Strowman. Then at Extreme Rules, or I should say, the horror show at Extreme Rules. Whoops. Sorry I called it by the wrong name. They had the Wyatt Swamp Fight where Bray Wyatt went back to like the cult leader version. The Wyatt family version, whatever you want to call it. And now for SummerSlam, he's going to be the Fiend. And obviously, if WWE is smart, they will put the Universal Championship on the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Which, like I said, Bray Wyatt never should have lost the Universal Championship to Goldberg. What the hell was WWE thinking? What? Okay, I get it. They wanted to eventually put... I get it. I think the plan is for WWE to eventually put the Universal Championship on Roman Reigns. But, come on. And I've heard that's the reason they took the Universal Championship off of Bray Wyatt and put on Goldberg, was because they thought Goldberg against Roman Reigns would be the bigger sell. Which, no. I'm sorry. I would have much rather watched Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, against Roman Reigns. I think that would have been a very entertaining match. But whatever. And I think it's interesting that they brought Alexa Bliss into this. Now, here's the thing. Is Alexa Bliss just being utilized in this storyline as Sister Abigail? Or is the Fiend going to turn Alexa Bliss heel and set up a feud with Nikki Cross? Because that's what the Fiend has done. Like, if you are in a match with the Fiend, you are going to change. Whether it's, whether you're healed or whether you're hurt. Because that's his whole thing. Heal. Remember, he has the gloves. Heal, hurt. For example, once Daniel Bryan won the WWE Championship, he turned heel, right? And even after losing the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 35 to Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan was still a heel. But what happened? He gets into a feud with Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, and he's now a babyface. The Miz. He was a babyface before, and then he gets involved in a feud with the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, which, again, I think that was just a filler feud while Daniel Bryan was away, clearly, at TLC, but whatever. But once The Miz had that match with the Fiend Bray Wyatt, look at him now. He's back to being a asshole. Who's another example? Let's see. What's another good example? Oh, Seth Rollins. Before the Fiend got him, Seth Rollins was a babyface and he was the Beast Slayer and all that. He gets into a feud with the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and look at him. He's a major heel, a total asshole, and he's taking on this whole Monday Night Messiah gimmick. So, what I'm curious about is, the Fiend applied the mandible claw to Alexa Bliss 2 weeks ago to end Friday Night SmackDown after Nikki Cross lost the SmackDown Women's Championship to Bayley, which I'll talk about that whole thing in a minute. And then Alexa tried to comfort Nikki Cross, but Nikki Cross just wasn't having it and pushed Alexa down. And I think we're slowly trying to bring back the crazy psycho version of Nikki Cross. But, Bray Wyatt appeared and he applied the mandible claw. And then what happened last Friday? Bray Wyatt comes to the ring and they go to commercial. What comes back to the show? Alexa Bliss is sitting there. He tries to apply the mandible claw, but it almost looked like Alexa Bliss started caressing his face a little bit, and the Bray Wyatt, or the Fiend, whatever you want to call him, was just like, what the heck? And he turned around, and then, Braun Strowman appeared on the screen, although you couldn't tell where he was because he was like this close to the camera, and I'm thinking, Braun, step back from the camera so we can see you where you are a bit more. Like, you don't need to be this close to the camera, you dummy. And also, some of the things he was saying made no sense. Go back and watch the clip of that segment. It made no sense. So there's that. And then with SmackDown, you have the whole Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville feud happening. And I guarantee that's going to end in a match. I don't think it'll be at SummerSlam. I think it could be at Hell in a Cell. And I wouldn't be surprised if that turns into a Hell in a Cell match. Now, I need to vent a little bit, okay? So bear with me. Okay, so you have two pay-per-views that I want to focus on, alright? You have Hell in a Cell and Elimination Chamber, okay? Those are the names of your pay-per-view. But you only have 2 matches that, per pay-per-view. I remember, like I said, I didn't watch the pay-per-view, but I watched highlights after. The only matches that were actually inside Hell in a Cell last year was Sasha Banks against Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship and the Universal Championship match between The Fiend and Seth Rollins. But if the pay-per-view is called Hell in a Cell, why not put every match inside Hell in a Cell? Let's just say Big E was having a match against King Corbin, okay? And they agreed to do it at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Well, that match should be a Hell in a Cell. And if Apollo Crews is defending the United States Championship against Bobby Lashley at Hell in a Cell, that match should be inside Hell in a Cell. Because again, the pay-per-view is called what? Hell in a Cell. So it shouldn't just be that 2 matches are inside Hell in a Cell. To me, that makes no sense. With Elimination Chamber, I guess that makes a little bit more sense because you use the Elimination Chamber to determine stuff. For this year, it was, The Miz and John Morrison had to defend their SmackDown Tag Team championships inside Hell in a Cell against The New Day, Usos, Lucha House Party. I think it was also Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, if I remember correctly. And then the other match was to determine who Becky Lynch would face at WrestleMania. It was the Riot Squad, so Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan, Asuka, Natalya, and Shayna Baszler, which Shayna Baszler won that match easily, and she should have beaten Becky Lynch at WrestleMania to win the Raw Women's Championship. I don't know why WWE hasn't put a championship belt on Shayna Baszler yet. I think they are missing a huge opportunity. But anyway, so back to the whole thing. that story is good of Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. I'm still a little bit confused about what the whole storyline is with King Corbin, Matt Riddle, and Chad Gable. Or, I'm sorry, Shorty G. Has Shorty G turned heel? Or is this just a gimmick? And I don't know. Sheamus was in a random match with Matt Riddle on Friday. What? Where did that match come from? That doesn't build off the story from last week. What? And then Sheamus got mad at King Corbin, so he ended up having a match with Sheamus. Or, I'm sorry, Sheamus got mad at King Corbin, so they ended up having a match. But what did WWE do? They used the distraction finish. Come on! Can't I just get one clean finish, please, WWE? Instead of using the stupid surprise roll-up, which you use way too often, and instead of using the stupid distraction finish, which you also use way too often, just give me a clean finish. Come on! You had The Miz and John Morrison against Heavy Machinery last week in the main event. But did we get a clean finish on that? Nope. Why? Because Sonya Deville was out there, and the new look Mandy Rose decided, you know what? I need to come down to the ring and beat Sonya Deville's ass up. And I guess because they ended up in the ring, the referee went, nope, this match is no longer a thing. What? What? Why? Restart it as a mixed six-man tag team match where you have Heavy Machinery and Mandy Rose against The Miz and John Morrison and Sonya Deville. Why not do that? I don't get what WWE is doing. I really don't. Like I said, the storytelling I think is better on the SmackDown side, but the wrestling is actually better on the Raw side. But the one story that I'm actually interested in more than any other on WWE is what's happening with Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Asuka. So, 2 weeks ago, Sasha Banks said, hey Asuka, I'll give you your rematch if you can beat Bayley, which you could see visibly, Bayley was not happy about that. And I think WWE still wants to eventually create a feud between Sasha Banks and Bayley, and they wanted to do it at the upcoming pay-per-view SummerSlam, but because SummerSlam was supposed to be in Boston, which just so happens to be Sasha Banks' hometown, but because of this pandemic, I think WWE is just delaying it, but not scrapping it. Okay. So, Bayley was not happy that Sasha Banks pretty much voluntold her that. But thankfully, when I watched their match last night, WWE actually used a clean finish. Holy crap. What is this concept? WWE using a clean finish? That's a thing? Okay, maybe that was a little over dramatic, but come on. WWE, like I said earlier, uses the distraction finish way too much, and they use the stupid surprise roll-up way too much. Come on. Give us different finishes. Allow a superstar to use their signature move to win a match. Like you did for the Bayley versus Asuka match last night. Asuka won that match because of the Asuka lock. Meaning that Asuka will get a match against Sasha Banks at SummerSlam for the Raw Women's Championship. So here's something interesting. 1 week after SummerSlam, WWE is doing another pay-per-view, Payback. Now, this is interesting because usually WWE gives you like 2 or 3 weeks of build-up towards a pay-per-view to really tell a story and try and explain why this match A, B, or C is happening at said pay-per-view. But for WWE to do Payback 1 week after SummerSlam means something interesting is going to happen. And I think it's going to involve the Seth Rollins Dominic Mysterio match. I think what's going to happen is Seth Rollins is going to beat Dominic Mysterio at SummerSlam. But do you remember, not last night, but a week ago, Seth Rollins was mad at Tom Phillips because, Tom Phillips was apparently encouraging Dominic Mysterio. Whatever. And then Samoa Joe goes, if you're going to try and attack him, you got to get through me. And he was approaching the steps to the ring like, I'm going to come in there and whoop your ass. Now that was I think that was just a distraction, I should say, for Dominic Mysterio to come in and beat the shit out of Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, or I should say Murphy, because apparently WWE decided to drop his first name of Buddy and just call him Murphy. I don't get that, but, it's WWE. Don't ask questions. Yeah. So, maybe at Payback, we're going to have a tag team match of Dominic Mysterio and Samoa Joe against Murphy, not Buddy Murphy, just Murphy, and the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. I've also heard rumors that after this match at SummerSlam, Mysterio, as in Dominic Mysterio, is going to turn heel and join Seth Rollins for a while. And maybe they win the Raw Tag Team Championships. I could see that happening, but I don't know. The story doesn't seem to be playing out like that. But I could be proven wrong. Whatever. And I guess the other match or storyline that I'm interested in for Monday Night Raw is everything that's happening with the Hurt Business and Apollo Crews. Now, I thought Cedric Alexander and Ricochet and Mustafa Ali were also part of that storyline with the Hurt Business and Apollo Crews. But last night, Apollo Crews just came out by himself. And, he ended up attacking MVP, but still, it was just him. And meanwhile, Ricochet and Cedric Alexander were teaming with the Viking Raiders to take on Akira Tozawa and his ninjas. What? First of all, that storyline just needs to be dropped. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't intrigue me as a fan, and it's just stupid. And then, of course, it turns out one of the ninjas was R-Truth. He pinned Akira Tozawa and became a 38-time 24/7 champion. WWE, the 24/7 championship has run its course. It is stupid, and there is no storyline at all with it. Please drop it. Just drop it. It's pointless. It's just stupid. So, yeah. Do something different with R-Truth. I don't know. Just do something with him. But meanwhile, back to Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. I would love to see Cedric Alexander turn heel and team up with the Hurt Business. So that way, he's not just standing on the sidelines going, here's your brochure for tonight, here's your brochure for tonight, here's your brochure for tonight. Think about it. What if you had created a feud between Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. And then you put them in a match against each other. Think how much fun that would be. Think about it. Okay? You would have two high flyers and two energy guys going head to head, wanting to rip each other's heads off. It would be great. So I think WWE, you need to do that. Turn Cedric Alexander heel, have him somehow join up with the Hurt Business, and create a feud between him and Ricochet. Yeah. So that's gonna do it for this episode of WWE reactions. If you liked this video, give it a punch that like button like a UFC fighter and punch that subscribe button. I will see you next time.